Hiya, I am Sandra Whyles. I am a studio potter and also a visual artist and maker. I've been doing pottery, we'll say, for about 23 years and I love it. I've been in the studio in Leeds. I've been potting in Leeds most of the time. I spent a little bit of time in Southern Africa doing some pottery there. That was fantastic. I'm back here now, and I have a studio here where I work from. I have a small sole trader business here as well. I come from a very creative family, let's say. My mum raised us by herself, and she was always sewing. She was cooking, she loves cooking. She was crocheting, she did woodwork, put down our own lino, put down our own carpets. So we're always doing and making, so that was always in us. And we're all creative, so a sister that does cooking as well, and crochet and verse and writing and authorships. A sister that does sewing, textile design, brother that does beatbox and hip hop, and my children have also started to do the same. They are, one's studying a master's degree in art development, and another one is just finished his graphic design, and he's doing graphic design as his profession. I mean, the reality is I just love making, you know, and I happen to just happen upon pottery as a making tool. So like, before I was using clay to make, I was using paper. I was doing papier-mâché. I quite liked making the shapes of that, and I got into this idea of thinking about African pottery and the shapes of African pottery and Greek ware. And then, and before the papier-mâché, I was making earrings. Before that, I was knitting and crocheting. So it's not a particularly, I chose it. I mean, I did choose it, but it was more to do with just a development of making shapes, and clay was the next best thing to do that. So I love this. It's a variety. The thing about pottery is that it's a massive area, and people think it's just about making plates. It's not. It's not at all. I mean, I do make plates, as it happens. Long nails don't work with doing pottery. So if you've got long extension nails, you have to go. So I've got some clay here. This is earthenware, sorry, it's not earthenware, it's stoneware clay. And from this we're going to make two pieces from this, so I'm just going to wedge it. Wedging is a technique that you used to do before you use the clay. Wedging makes anything else, if it's a bit dry in parts or a bit wet in parts, you can then make it more consistent moisture by wedging it. The visual arts, ceramic art side of it, where you can make, you know, shapes and mix media with the clay. You can make a piece. You can paint it with acrylics if you want to. You can put wires into it. You can use textiles with it. You can mix it with paper. It becomes light. I mean, there's so much you can do. I initially started off making massive kind of vessels. I'd burnish them over 2 days, burnishing with a spoon or a stone, and then firing it, and then put it into a smoke fire and smoke firing it. And I was trying to emulate one of my favourite ceramic artists called Magdalena Dundo. She's a Kenyan artist based in the UK, and she does the most beautiful work you've ever seen. And meticulous, beautiful shapes, very feminine shapes that she would do, burnished and smoked and beautiful. And I was lucky to see her and meet her actually a few years ago, and I couldn't do her work. I tried to sort of emulate that. It didn't work, but you know, it doesn't matter. It matters that I did it and I found my own voice. So that's what I do. So now right now I make mostly for trade. So I'll make and I say trade, but I'll sell my work to people that want functional wear. And I'll do commissions as well. So if somebody wants a commission, I'll do that too. My own artwork itself, it's kind of taken a bit of a side step because you need time to do that, and I need like 2 or 3 weeks. You can't just indulge yourself for 2 or 3 weeks making art pieces, because as a self-employed person, you've got to be working to make an income. That's fine. So that's that. So then you knock them into a little ball to go on the wheel. So you just give it a tap. I say a tap, well, it's more of a beating, isn't it? Give them a bit of a beating. Make them into kind of round enough. This one. Recently I had a commission for to do a 2D piece paper. I love paper as well, I love making out of paper. I've done things for Leeds Playhouse, making flowers for performance. I do other things as well. I'm just showing this when the clay is dry, when you've thrown the work. This is some of my smaller plates. I made this is very fragile now. If I dropped it, it would totally break. It's just dry clay. So when it's fired, it becomes a big square. So before that, you have to make the thing first. Okay. It's the wheels. This is the wheel that I use. Well, I have my own wheel, but this is the wheel that's used by it's supplied by East Street Arts. But like I said, with ceramics, it's such a large area and everyone does it differently. But if I'm talking about what I do on a daily, on a kind of weekly basis, by making on the wheel, I can hand build with my hands and not using the wheel at all, or I can use the wheel to make round objects. So it could be plates, bowls, cups, vases. You know, generally it's round in some way. But also, you can also make a round and also alter it as well. You can alter it to make it different shape and give it angled and make it square and this sort of thing. So for me, I get inspiration from everything around me. I don't read a lot anymore, but I've read a lot. I have a lot of books, inspiration from out in the street. I see a shape, I see a leaf on the pavement. It inspires me. Building shape, cloud shapes, anything inspires me. I do like the idea of shape and form. That really does excite me, to be fair. Easily excitable. But I also like texture as well. So I like to look at some of the textures that you can make on the form. So you can use a sharp instrument to score the form, or you can print on the form. I do a lot of printing on my forms as well. So I print as well on the forms. I do photography. I do a lot of things. So maybe it's too much, but it's how I stay sane. First of all, I'm going to throw a bowl. Now a bowl is the easiest thing to make on the wheel because it wants to go outwards, so you can do a bowl that goes outwards. Let's turn it on. It'll go on. Why isn't it going on? There we go. You have to put it in the centre, and you have to centre the piece of clay. You use water as a lubrication. So now I'm centering the piece on the wheel. So what I do is I make on the wheel. So say I'm going to make a cup, I'm going to make a vessel. I have to prepare the clay first. People don't realise that there's more to it than just make on the wheel. You've got to prepare the clay. You've got to buy the clay, prepare the clay, and then use the clay. And the clay that's left over, I'm also about recycling. So I don't throw my clay away. I reclaim it and use it again. I'll make a piece and I'll finish it off by what we call turning it or trimming it. Then I'll let it dry, and then I will, once it's fired at once, I'll glaze it with a nice colour, and then fired again. Then I'll sand off, once it's fired out, once it's come out of the fire, the glaze firing, it then is sanded down, ready for sale or demonstration or whatever. The question is, how do I get it off? How does it come off the wheel? How do you get it off the wheel? Sometimes you can work really nicely, do the work really nice, and then the last part of the process you might mess it up. So let's see what happens. I think it'll be fine though. Use my wire cutter. It's like a cheese wire, but it's not. Underneath. Cut it off. And then to get it off, some people can lift it off like this. I don't do that because it never works when I do it. So I'm just going to put some water on the wheel. Then from the bottom, I'm just going to push it. Just push it into the water. And the water aids it off like an aquaplaning, like a hovercraft. It just comes off. And there we go. That's the bowl made. Firing takes about 24 hours, so it goes up in temperature to about 1000 or 1280, whatever you kind of glaze you prefer to do. It's quite a complex situation. I mean, you have to learn it. These two kilns belong to East Street Arts, and we can use them. We book them and use them as we need them. But I have my own kiln, so this one's here that I've bought myself. It's quite a big kiln. I've had it quite a few years, about 5 years now. Reconditioned, costs a lot of money. It's so expensive. And I use this kiln for my own work most of the time. It goes up to about, I think maybe maybe like 2,500 centigrade. So, nothing inside I don't think, but have a look and see. It's empty. So these coils get very hot, and you can put your work in, and you can these are stilts that you can put another shelf on top of it, so you can build up your shelves. So there's earthenware clay, there's porcelain, there's stoneware, different temperatures, different kind of glazes. There's under glazes, there's on glazes, there's maiolica. It's massive, and I can't really give you everything in the time we have now. But if people are interested in looking about pottery and how to do pottery, there are books, there's YouTube, there's so much resources out there that are free that you can use. I also run workshops myself, so if people want to come to my courses, they can come on a workshop. Now I'm going to make a cylinder, a tall shape. To dry this paste, if it's not dry it doesn't work, so I just dry it so it doesn't it'll stick. Here we go. Bam. Water. Again, they go quite fast at this stage. It's quite lumpy, this one, so we try and get it all nice and smooth. It's kind of lumpy at this moment in time. So coning up and coning down. Very noisy wheel, isn't it? Some wheels you can get these days are very quiet. They're called Shimpos. Lovely wheels. They're really quiet. I haven't got one of those. Now I'm going straight down with the hole. I'm going to open up now. Cylinder. I'm compressing the bottom. If you don't compress or you fail to do it properly, what happens is, once it's fired, it might develop what they call an S-crack inside. You don't want an S-crack in your bottom. I'm a person that if I want to do something, I'm going to go for it, and I'll learn from official sources, or I'll learn from my own tuition, really. I learned pottery initially at night class. You know, they used to have night schools, evening classes for adults, and I went to a place called Swarthmore in Leeds, and I did there for about 5 years. I did an evening class, and I went to Africa for 2.5 years. I kind of did a bit of pottery there. I even won an award actually. My work was in a show in the museum, a gallery, and I won an award from a leading South African potter, and prize money as well. That's really good. So I did, you know, I like it. I'm quite good at it. I've never done a degree in pottery, ceramics degree. Not done that at all. I suppose I'm mostly self-taught, to be fair. I didn't really think about it before, but I am mostly self-taught because I teach myself. And if I see something that I like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try and do it. I'm going to learn it. So, for example, somebody wanted me to make some plates. At that time, I couldn't make a plate. I thought, I can't make a plate. So what I did was taught myself. Went on YouTube, looked at it, watched it, practiced it, looked at it, practiced it. I'm brilliant at making plates now. So now, to the bottom, I'm going to do the walls now. Now with doing a cylinder, you think you go straight up. When you're pulling up, you have to make it into a cone shape. See, we talk about pottery in terms of human body. So we've got a top or a neck, we've got a belly, we've got a bottom. It's all human traits. So I'm going to narrate some more just to show you how it can be narrowed. I took myself off to do a master's degree, which I paid for myself, and I qualified in that. Within that course, though, I learned more about art, and of course I used my ceramics within that practice. I wasn't taught ceramics. I already knew a lot about it already. I just practiced some more of my ceramics within that field. And in that field I also did photography and printing as well. So I make artist books, and I do ceramics, and I do photography. So I'm going to narrow it now, just to show you how that can work. Called colouring in. So I'm colouring it in. Well, so obviously I'm a good networker. That's one thing I am. I talk to people, and I keep in touch with people, and I have their numbers, and we connect sometimes, or we don't connect sometimes. But I'm a people's person, and so through my networks and through my art practice, I know a lot of people, and I have my work in shops, and mostly in shops, some art shops, and I do sell my work at craft fairs and art fairs and so on and so forth. A couple of people who were lovely, who I haven't seen for ages, they had a shop in Leeds, art shop, and my work was there. And they emailed me or called me, in fact, said, Sandra, there's an application for potters to go on TV to be like a bake-off, but for pottery. I thought, nah, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that, no way. And then I thought about it again. I thought, you know what? What am I going to lose? So I applied. I applied for this pottery show that's like Bake Off but with clay. And the first section I got through. I thought, oh my gosh, I've gotten through. And the process was quite long. It was a long process. So you have to do auditions. But first, before that, you have to show your work. What kind of work do you do? Show the work, they like the work. Then you audition, like a headshot talking, Did that, got through, thought, okay, it's getting more serious. Then you have to do kind of a mock-up of the show where you would then went to the studios in London and we had to do work on the wheel with a camera in your face, people asking you questions, and got through that as well. Then you have to do go see a psychiatrist to make sure that you weren't vulnerable, let's say. Got through that as well, and then there I was on the show with 9 other people. So there's 10 of us all together, and it was an experience that I've learnt from, i.e. TV, editing. It was hard. I wouldn't do it again, to be fair. I wouldn't do it again. But it's been very useful, let's say. But what I'm trying to say to people as well is that you can, whatever you want to do, just go for it. Don't let anybody say, nah, that's not going to work. Don't ignore them. Get on with your life. Okay, I should move. Yep. Put it on my hand. I'm glad that I didn't come out first. I wasn't the first to leave, which is really good. I reached the quarterfinals, so that was very good as well. But what was really good about it is that I met some really good people that I didn't think I would get on with. I thought it's a competition. We're going to be like enemies, frenemies. So don't be my friend. Don't talk to me. I'm going to win. But it wasn't like that at all. It was really friendly. We're still close today. We're still all friends today. And I got that out of it as well. And also, it kind of gave me a license in a way to talk to other potters who I see as better than myself, and they recognise me and I can talk to them openly. I made more friends, more pottery friends through the process than before, so that was quite useful for networking, definitely. If it's really hot, if it's very hot weather, it's dry, it will take a couple of hours to be ready for the next stage. Okay? But we can wait. That's where to talk, because I've got some ready, just for this purpose. So here we have some that we did yesterday that are ready to be turned. I think I need to have more collaborations maybe with pottery, and I'm trying to do that now. Actually, I've got some collaborations happening. So I think collaboration is really good, and also creating more partnerships around the work so we can come together. I think also Leeds is a bit, I like Leeds, it's lovely. I'd rather live here than London, but in Leeds it's a small community of potters, and I think London might be the place to kind of look at how to sell the work, grow the work and develop my practice some more. Right now I do feel like I'm stuck in a tableware zone, which is okay, but I want to do a bit more arty, farty things. Can you say farty?
You said it, right?
So I'm going to make it a nice shape. Let's go. Also, I use this as well. I like to use it's a lid of a jar. Again, there's a fancy tool you can buy for this. You can buy a fancy tool that's got little numbers on it and things that you can use, but I use a lid of a jar. And the ribbons come off it. That's why it's called a ribbon tool. The ribbons come off the piece as you go around. Yeah, I like doing this part actually. I remember once I was doing it, I was just so into it and I wasn't thinking. I was just like, oh yeah. And it went through, I went through the bottom. But yeah, it happens. I think when I go to the galleries, for example, I can go to the gallery, I'll be there all day. I love looking at, if it's a bookshop, I'm there all day, if I'm allowed. If it's a gallery, I'm there. At museums, I'm there for a long time. And that inspires me. The environment that I'm in, I don't have that. There's no other potters, apart from, I'm saying that, the people here that pot in the studios, it's a shared space. But we're very different potters, we don't do the same kind of work. I think my environment is in my head, or when I go to London, when I go to the galleries, when I look at magazines, when I talk to other potters that I know, outside of Leeds, that's where my community is. Instagram, Facebook. That's where I see things that inspire and I ask questions online. I think that's where it is for me at the moment in terms of pottery. But it's true that your network is your net worth, isn't it? And I think if you want to climb in a certain area that you want to climb into, whether it's arts or journalism or whatever it is, you've got to be around the right people. Give it a nice bevel so it looks quite neat on the outside and the inside as well. And then with a finger, smooth it out. Oh, sometimes if it's not too soft, hard, I use a stone to smooth it nicely like this. Also to check the profile, interesting to check the profile. Make sure that it's got a nice profile, otherwise you're going to fire it and you're going to hate it. It's fine. Then I put my stamp on it. It's practically finished. Sometimes I can put it on the outside, or I can put it here, but I tend to put it here sometimes. This little stamp here that I had made a long time ago. SW, Sandra Whyles. Take these off, lift it up, little lift off, get it stuck to the table. There we go. Nice. So that's the bowl. One thing I love about pottery and ceramics is that I can make it, and if it's good, which it often is these days, it's forever. So when I'm selling to people at the stall, they'll be dithering about it. I'm not sure. I don't need it. So well, you can make it, and it's there forever, and you can use it. So I make things you can use. Usually, I can make a wonderful thing that looks nice, but in this day and age with costs soaring, economic downfall, you can't justify yourself buying an item to look at. Unless you've got a massive house and you're a collector, to buy something just to look at is not always justified. So if you can buy something to look at and use, cylinder is a little bit harder because it's tall. So I wanted to get rid of this skirt around here because it's not pretty. I don't like it. So I'm going to get rid of this. Again, same process. Center it. I sign my work. My work is always signed, except when I forget. I do forget sometimes to sign my work, which is really annoying. But it's not often. I have a stamp and I have a signature and I have a little logo that I use. Every potter has a signature, has a stamp. If you look at any plate or any pottery or ceramic work, it's got a stamp or a sign on it. Even if you go to IKEA, because underneath the pot, it's got some sort of maker on it. If you know me, if I go to a restaurant, which I do often, well I used to do often, not so much now with COVID, you'll see me picking up plates. If I like the plate, that is, if it's nice, ooh, who made that? So you'll see me doing this. It's very thin bottom. The tapping, I can tell by tapping how thick or thin it is. So it's actually quite a thin bottom, which is not, so I'm not going to go very deep because I can tell it's very thin for some reason. So I'm going to keep it really shallow. Clean it off. smooth it down with the little stone. When I first started pottery, obviously I was in night school, so I didn't need a studio at the time. As I got more serious, I wanted to branch out and do my own thing. I was like, where can I do that? Once I left university, after I finished my master's degree, I looked for somewhere to have my studio, and at the time there was really nowhere really to do pottery studio. But East Street Arts, the directors of East Street Arts, they're both potters, they're both ceramic artists, or practiced it in the past, and they love it. And I've moved around a lot. I've been to about, I think it's my third studio. Let's check. There was there, then there was there, and there was there. My fourth studio. So, and most of them have been with East Street Arts, weirdly. East Street Arts is an arts organisation in Leeds that supports artists of all kinds. And funnily enough, this studio, I was the person that actually did the research for this studio to come about, because I did research to ask potters if they wanted this sort of a space to do the work. So I was part of the formation of the studio, weirdly. So I'm here now, and it's good because there's equipment that you can use, there are kilns that you can use, and sometimes you get some good people around. You can exchange ideas sometimes and share some sort of recipes for glazes and tips and tricks that you can share with people. I run workshops for people. You can find me online, you can find me on Facebook, find me on Instagram. Adults and children, but with children it's accompanied with adults, so a carer or parent has to be with a child. And when they're fired, they become bisque ware. It's strong enough to hold and touch. This way you have it at this stage when you glaze it, and hopefully once it's glazed, it's something like one of these. This is the blue glaze, obviously. I make my own glazes, so I don't have a big range, because glazing is really hard, actually. Not glazing itself, but it's the making of the glaze and the experimentation and the testing, because this is my fourth or fifth attempt at this blue, so it's really is a challenge. This is a white glaze that I make. This is quite one I use a lot. It's quite a nice glaze. Well, in fact, I am the technician here. I do technician work in this studio as well as my own studio, and people will call up and they want to fire their work here. That can be done here. Obviously, it costs whatever the costs for the firing is. I make glazes from raw materials. It's like chemistry, really. It's chemistry. So I'm using things like potash feldspar. I'm using quartz. I'm using Cornish stone. I'm using whiting. I'm using oxides like cobalt, manganese. I'm using tin. I'm using copper. It's massive. So it's basically chemistry. And it becomes touch dry in seconds. So I kind of scoop it in, hold it for 2 seconds, take it out. Let it drip, and then touch dry. So you have to make sure that this is wiped away. So get a cloth and wipe at the bottom only. So it's free of glaze. One of the things I love about making with clay is that even though it's a vessels that I make, I also use my printing and photography to convey messages and images about the world and popular culture, particularly from an African-centered perspective, which is what I like to look at, because living in this world as a person of colour, as a woman, and now as an older woman, there are so many issues that come up for us. So, you know, images around body shaming and body image, information about like Black Lives Matter, for example, those kind of issues that come up, and also our histories that we don't necessarily know about or get taught in school. I wasn't taught in school. So I had to put those images out there as well. So often my services might display something about who we are as African people.